Hafaday, the Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land and Justice is now called to order. Today is Wednesday, March 6, 2019, and the time is 1:03 p.m. Notices for this confirmation hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on February 26, 2019, and again on March 1, 2019. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on February 26 and March 4, 2019. Today's agenda items will be heard first. The items to be heard first are the appointment of Glynis S. Almonte, RN, as member of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority Board of Trustees, and the appointment of Byron M.S. Evaristo as member of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority Board of Trustees. The chairperson of the committee, Senator Therese Terlahi, was not able to be here this afternoon and asked that I chair the confirmation hearing for her. I'd like to thank my colleagues for attending this afternoon, Senator Mary Camacho Torres and Senator James Moylan. Sidious Masi. I would also like to thank the public for attending this afternoon's hearing. We will start with the appointments of Glynis S. Almonte and Byron M.S. Evaristo as members of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority Board of Trustees. I would like to ask those who have signed up to testify on behalf of Ms. Almonte and Mr. Evaristo to come to the table. Rose Greeno, Andy Padilla, Mark Zhao, and Phil Flores. Before we hear from the panel, I'd like to read the duties of the Guam Memorial Hospital Board of Trustees as stated in Section 80105.1, Chapter 80 of Title 10, Guam Code Annotated. Duties of the Board of Trustees. The board shall be liable for the negligent act of any hospital employee or officer. If the board knew or had noticed that said employee or officer was inefficient and incompetent to perform the services for which he was hired, or said board retained such inefficient or incompetent person after knowledge or notice of such inefficiency or incompetency, no trustee shall be liable for any decision made in the good faith, non-malicious fulfillment of his duties. The board shall be liable as fiduciaries in the execution of their duties. No trustee shall be actively engaged in the selling of services or goods to the hospital without the express approval of the Board of Trustees. The form of approval shall be by the adoption of a board resolution confirming said approval. This restriction shall not apply to healthcare professionals who provide direct patient care services to the hospital. No trustee shall act when a conflict of interest occurs. The trustee shall disclose the nature of the conflict of interest to the members present and abstain from any discussion or voting on the issue until abstain from any discussion or voting on the issue until it has been disposed of by action of the remaining members present. If a trustee knowingly fails to disclose a conflict of interest in the manner listed herein and subsequently votes on an action to be taken by the board, then the vote of the conflicted trustee shall not be counted for purposes of constituting official board action. Any trustee who knowingly fails to disclose a conflict of interest in the manner listed herein shall be subject to removal from the board pursuant to Section 80107 of this chapter. The board is to be composed of 10 members. 4 members represent the general public and shall possess a background in healthcare, management, finance, or any other business-related field. 1 member representing the allied health professions, 2 members representing the Guam Nursing Association, and 2 members representing the Guam medical community. Also, 1 member who shall be the president or designee of the Guam Memorial Hospital Volunteers Association. Mr. Byron Evaristo would represent the general public as member with a background in finance, and Ms. Glynis S. Almonte, RN, would represent as a member of the Guam Nursing Association. For the record, we have received written testimony prior to this hearing from Mary Sanchez Torrey, Winifred C. Butler, and Agnes M. White, Rose Greeno, and Faye Valencia Avalos in support of Ms. Glynis S. Almonte, RN. We have also received written testimony from Keith Dixon, Caesar Cabot, Pasita Tomata, and Philip Flores in support of Mr. Byron Evaristo. Before we accept any oral testimony on behalf of the nominees, we kindly ask that testimony be limited to 3 to 5 minutes to allow for the timely progression of this afternoon's hearing. We will now accept testimony from Ms. Rose Greeno.
Senator Shelton, Senator Torres, Senator Moylan, and everyone, good afternoon. The Guam Nurses Association strongly supports the nomination of Glynis S. Almonte, BSN RN, to the Guam Memorial Authority Board of Trustees. As a GNA member for almost 30 years, with the most recent 10 years as GNA's volunteer executive director, her responsibilities include managing the organization according to the policies established by the GNA Board of Directors. She administers the organization's day-to-day operations while providing support and guidance to the GNA Board in achieving the organization's mission, goals, and objectives. Glynis brings 40 years of diverse experience, knowledge, and leadership to the field of nursing and healthcare here in Guam and the rest of the region. More than 2 decades of her professional career were dedicated to nursing at GMH, with experience ranging from staff nurse to director of nursing. Since then, she expanded her experience outside of the hospital setting to help care for the patients in urgent care. With the immediate past 20 years spent in both in-home care setting and nursing education, developing and shaping Guam's future nursing assistants, practical nurses, and medical assistants. Glynis serves as both an active member and in leadership position across a wide variety of local community organizations, each with a purpose aimed at healthcare outreaches, health promotion for the island of Guam and the rest of the Pacific region. These organizations include the American Pacific Nursing Leaders Council, the Guam Board of Nurse Examiner, and organizations with focus on diabetes, cancer, and other non-communicable diseases. Glynis consistently demonstrates an enthusiastic desire for improving the quality of health care for the people of Guam, continuously seeking opportunities that allows the utilization of her expertise and support. Her energy and focus had been a positive influence for our GNA members, her colleagues, students, and the patients she had served and continues to serve. Through her tremendous wealth of knowledge, experience, leadership, and dedication, Glynis developed a comprehensive understanding of the complex patient needs and the changing landscape of our island's healthcare system. Her collective past experience, especially as the chairperson of the Guam Board of Nurse Examiner and a former nursing director of GMH, have equipped her with a strong and clear understanding of GMHA workforce needs and the importance of delivering a safe, quality patient care, all while maintaining standards of practice and regulatory compliance. It is for this reason that GNA strongly supports the nomination of Glynis S. Almonte to the GMHA Board of Trustees. Respectfully signed by yours truly, Rose Greeno, President of GNA, and co-signed by Susan Cabrera, Vice President of GNA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nurse Greeno. Mr. Andy Padilla?
Thank you. Senator Rangel, Senator Torres, Senator Shelton, Senator Moylan. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I have my oral testification for Glynis Almonte. My name is Andres Padilla. They know me as Andy Padilla. Retired Government of Guam employee I'm here to support Ms. Glynis Almonte through my heart and oral is what I said. I have known Glynis Almonte for 3 decades and more. We start as a member of the prestigious association and officer for PCOG, Pangasinan Community of Guam. Now it's POPOG, Federation of Pangasinenses of Guam, under the umbrella of FCG, the Filipino Community of Guam. Glynis is also a retired nurse at the hospital. Presently, she is also a professor, a teacher for paramedical student at Guam Marianas Training Center at GCIC. Glynis is a champion of volunteerism, especially in Diabetes Association of Guam. She helps patients and diabetic and people of Guam that has diabetic as well. She volunteered herself for a medical mission in Guam as well as neighboring countries, Philippines and so on. I personally believe, I'll make my statement short, that Ms. Glynis Almonte will do her job and task diligently. I thank you. Undang ko na si Diyos Masi, maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padilla. And I'd also like to recognize Senator Clint Rogel and Senator Luis Muña for joining us for the hearing. Thank you. Ms. Feo Valles.
Good afternoon, Senators of the 35th Guam Legislature, Senator Clint Rogel, Senator Torres, and of course, you heading the testimony this morning, Senator James Moylan, Senator Munier. It was very nice to be here again and be able to testify on behalf of a kababayan. Good afternoon, and my name is Faye Valencia Ovalis, President of the Guam Marianas Training Center, School of Allied Health. Healthcare reform and increased regulatory matters are making healthcare more complex and challenging for board of directors than ever before. Hospitals have varying types of leadership structures depending on their size and whether they are private, nonprofit, for-profit entities, hospitals. In general, hospital care is changing from volume-based care to value-based care, which means that board of directors need to make major changes in their objectives and strategic goals. In spite of all the changes, board must continue to focus their top priorities on financial sustainability for the hospital and quality of care for their patients. The collaboration between the people in those roles is what makes it all work for the good of the patients, shareholders, stakeholders, and employees. The administration of Magahaga Lu Leon Guerrero and Segundo Magalahi Joshua Tenorio have this utmost desire of serving our people of Guam with utmost care and compassion, and have therefore made the selections of the GMH Board of Directors that will carry such desire and vision for delivering quality healthcare services not only on latest technology and operational mandates, but appointing board members that have the vision and compassion for our people. I'm honored to be here to render my testimony for Ms. Glynis Almonte, RN BSN, as one of the nominees for the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority with the Board of Directors. I'm very confident that Ms. Almonte, as she gets confirmed by this august body, will ensure that collaboration amongst the various stakeholders will be carried on and bring about necessary changes together with her fellow nominees. After all, Guam Memorial Hospital is the only government hospital that we have on Guam and is truly needing forward visions by governing authorities such as the Board of Directors for its continuous sustainability. I have known Ms. Almonte since 2004 only by chance when I opened up the Guam Marianas Training Center at the School of Allied Health. I needed someone who can be the curriculum director as required by the Guam Board of Nurse Examiners for the Certified Nursing Assistant Program. Through the years, I have seen her passion in teaching and mentoring our students to the extent that each graduation not only become a celebration for completing the long hours of the CNA training, but also became the bond that glued everyone together. They became family of nursing assistants and caregivers. Whatever she planted in the heart of our students at Guam Marianas Training Center, it was some seed of goodness and love to our community. I am proud to say the various health allied professionals we have in our Guam community and CNMI are the product of the Guam Marianas Training Center through its humble operation. Through the love and passion of all our instructors and in various disciplines, Ms. Almonte, the foremost of them. Ms. Almonte is a member in good standing with the many civic organizations that are all about care in our community and beyond. Medical missions on Guam and outside of Guam community, Vietnam, Philippines, American Samoa, were reached by her love and compassion to the sick and the frail. Ms. Almonte is truly a great asset in our community. I am quite sure her confirmation, package, and resume reveals all her involvement in our community and the various national alliances and membership in her career as a nurse. As a board member, she will always be there present, much like the other organizations she commits herself to be attending each and every meeting unless she is outside Guam doing medical mission. With the many organizations she belongs, she is actively participating, contributing her time and personal resources at times, a true civic leader with good organizational skills, a true hallmark of Ms. Glynis Almonte. Commitment, passion, love is what Ms. Glynis is all about when it comes to healthcare issues of our Guam community and her people. Guam Memorial Hospital have a gem in their midst. Ms. Almonte is not to boast of her work in the community, nor for the accolades, but only to serve our island community. Guam is truly blessed with a servant leader like Ms. Glynis Almonte. I am truly proud of her as my fellow kababayan and an officer of newly formed nonprofit organization, Barangay 671, who have given a lot. She has given a lot to the community and willing to give more. Untag kulo na si Diyos maasi, maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ovales. Now, Mr. Mark Zhao.
Good afternoon, Senator Kendall, Torres, Shelton, Moylan, and Munya, and Talaki. Good afternoon, and everybody here. My name is Mark Zhao, and I'm the principal broker for Pioneer Realty. We've been doing business for over 15 years. I'm here to try to, speak for Mr. Byron Everesto. And I've been, actually banking with Mr. Phil Flores' bank for close to 10 years. Thank you. And Byron has been my loan officer and has been a very close friend of mine. And that shows why I'm here to testify for him, And, what I wanted to say is I've seen Byron's recent growth in the bank. And he was, I think, at that time, it was vice president. Now he's a senior vice president. And he also went through the Pacific Coast Banking School. And I know, I'm a former Bank of Hawaii banker. So I know that that Pacific Coast Banking School is not an easy school to attend, and you have to go through a lot of study and a lot of examinations and a lot of case studies. So when you graduate from that school, you possess the real skill, I mean, the needed skill to work as a bank, not only a loan officer, but as a loan department manager, because you basically can have the ability to analyze, a pretty complex financial statement, and a company. So that's why I know that Brian, his skill in financial industry is really, really a plus, a high, skill there. And so for that reason, I, recommend that he be on the board of the trustee so he can provide the financial knowledge that the board need. And also, I wanted to say that he's a very cool person. He doesn't really get excited, and he's very calm. And so I think that you need that kind of character to deal with the complexity situations in GMH, And of course, lastly, I want to say is that his character. And as I have been dealing with him for that long, he's been very, very supportive. He's, he's not to say that he gave away the bank, okay, because Mr. Furrows is here. And then he's analyzing it very carefully, and, so that I don't default on the loan. Okay, so that's very important, so. Also, he's been very kind to us. Me and my wife, we're in that business, and so right now we're fine. So that's why I wanted to speak as a client and as a friend to support Brian to become a member to be, elected as a member of the GMH Board of Trustees. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhao. I'd also like to recognize Senator Tello Taitigui for joining us for the hearing today. We also have Mr. Howard Gutierrez, who'd like to join the table. And I know that those who came to testify for Ms. Glynis, that you have some meetings to be at, so I'd just like to ask my colleagues if they have any questions for those who testified for Ms. Almonte. No? Okay, so you're excused from the table if you need to go. Now we'll hear testimony from Mr. Philip Flores for Byron Evaristo.
Thank you, Acting Chairperson. Senator Rajal, my fellow Republicans. Let me start by, I know she's not here, but by offering my condolences to your colleague on the loss of her mother. I'm Philip Flores, and I'm speaking today in my role as a former chairman of the Guam Memorial Hospital's Board of Trustees and a current member of the Guam Medical Board of Examiners. A proud father of Dr. Brices Flores, and like all of us here today, a citizen concerned with improvements in our community's health care. One thing that is most clear to me is that our island's medical facilities and the delivery of medical care have vastly improved since the turn of the millennium. But so often the subject turns to how do we make it possible for GMH to keep up with the Guam's medical community and strive for excellence in all they do. I believe there are pockets of excellence at the hospital, but they are too often drowned out by voices of frustration from within and without the medical community. But I have hope, a lot. Our newly inaugurated Magahaga Lourdes Leon Guerrero is a registered nurse and herself a former chairman of the chairwoman of the Board of Trustees. Our new hospital administrator, Lillian Perez Posadas, is also a registered nurse, and I know firsthand, once an RN, always an RN. She's also a former member of the Board of Trustees, and I'm sure she has some good ideas she's just waiting to hatch. Which brings me to the point in my testimony where I also testify in my role as a member of Bank Pacific's management team. I met Byron in 2004, shortly after he graduated from the University of Guam, and he joined our team in Bank Pacific in our credit department. Today, Byron is our Senior Vice President, Credit Administration. He runs our commercial, residential, and consumer loan platforms, leading 21 people on his team. Last year, as mentioned earlier, he graduated from the prestigious Pacific Coast Banking School in Washington State. In April, he will represent Bank Pacific at the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines Regional Pacific Conference in Hawaii. He heads the bank's Employee and Community Relations Committee, which participates in events with organizations such as Kamehameha Caridad, Toys for Tots, and was very active in the bank's relief efforts following Typhoon Soledor and Yutu, and more. Why do I point this out? Because Byron could bring financial understanding and planning to the board as a fully charged, energized, and evolved talent with deep ties to our community. Oh, did I mention he's also directing our loan servicing department, which means, amongst other things, he's in charge of our collection department. Acting Madam Chairwoman, Senators, in both of these roles I've testified today, I wholeheartedly urge you to support the nomination of Byron Evaristo to Guam Memorial Hospital's Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flores. Mr. Gutierrez?
Good afternoon, Senators. Just happy to say I voted for all of you. I'd like to thank you for the privilege of addressing this distinguished body. My name is Howard Gutierrez, and I'm a real estate appraiser with Chief Appraisals. I'm here today to speak in regard to and on behalf of Byron Evaristo's character, integrity, and kindness. I've known Byron on a professional and a personal level for over 20 years now, and I can honestly say that I knew everything I needed to know about him within our first 5 minutes of meeting. All my life, I've always seemed to be the youngest in my immediate circles. I was the youngest of four brothers, the youngest of first cousins, which often translated to being the youngest in my immediate friends and whatever functions and parties we were at. And being the youngest, I developed a knack for realizing when somebody was talking down to me or making fun of me or trying to belittle me for being so young. I also learned early on to recognize sincerity when someone was talking to me. And this is how I met Byron. I was a sophomore in high school at St. Paul Christian School, in the same grade as his younger brother. And one day, Byron came into the school to drop something off to his brother. And I saw him walk up to his brother and greet him as if they were old friends, with a handshake and a hug. And it was quite different for me because being the youngest of three older brothers, we'd usually greet each other with a punch or teasing or however. So just seeing the relationship that he had with his younger brother at the time, it really struck me. And this was my first introduction to Byron, and it was really an anomaly to me. He was graduated out of high school already, and I just remember everyone that graduated and was out of high school kind of looked down on everyone that was already still in high school, as we do when we're younger and immature. But I realized that he didn't try and talk down to me when I first met him, even though I'm just a younger kid. And it was that day when I'm talking to him that I could see that he was sincere. When he asked me a question, I could see that he really wanted to know the answer. When I asked him a question, he wasn't rushing or just brushing me off. He took the time to answer my questions because him and his brother had just moved to the island. It wasn't a chore for him to talk to somebody younger. He was engaging with me. And at the end of the conversation, sincerity was the first word that came to my mind. And throughout the last 20 years as I've known him, he hasn't changed. He's never showed up trying to be or act somebody different or try and be something different or try and reinvent himself. He never went through any weird phases as so often we do growing up. He's been the same person that he was from the very first day that I met him. A kind, sincere person with great integrity and a hardworking ethic. When I have a question in regard to our prospective businesses in real estate, loans, appraisals, I don't hesitate to call him. And if I was ever in a jam, if a car broken down on the side of the road, or if I ever needed help with something, I wouldn't hesitate to call him as well, because he's the type of friend that will always be there for you if you ever need. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gutierrez. Does anyone have any questions for the panel? No? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I'd now like to call up Ms. Almonte and Mr. Evaristo. Ms. Glynis, you can go first, and then Mr. Evaristo next.
Half a day and good afternoon, Honorable Senators, the 35th Guam Legislature. Chairperson for today's hearing, Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Clint Rogel, Senator Mary Camacho Torres, Senator James Moylan, Senator Luis Muñoz, and Senator Telo Taitagui. Good afternoon to all of you and to everybody who are here present today. My name is Glynis Almonte. I'm a registered nurse for over 40 years and with a lot of experience that have been mentioned by the people who testified on my behalf today. I've worked in a lot of different healthcare organizations in direct patient care, education, and also have been a member and presently a member and officer of the different professional organizations and community organizations in Guam. I have worked at GMH for 20 years, retired in there, optional retirement in 2003, but I still have connection with GMH since then up to now because of my work as a clinical instructor for the nursing assistant program with Guam Marianas Training Center. So, and even before I worked as a nursing assistant instructor for Guam Marianas Training, I also was employed by Guam Community College and taught the nursing assistant program, the college level, as well as a medical assisting program and the practical nursing program. The reason why I said I still have a tie with GMH is because I bring my students, the nursing assistant students, to GMH at the skilled nursing facility for their clinical experience. And that's like twice a year. So I practically know still most of the nurses there, the doctors, especially those who have been there during the time I was there. Okay. And having worked with other healthcare facilities, right now I'm also a part-time, very part-time employee of Guam Regional Medical City as a staff educator. So I've been doing some nursing orientation for new staff of nurses and nursing assistants, and also a CPR instructor. So when they need assistance to teach, they don't have enough people to teach, then they call me, and then I am there when my time is available. Okay. And yes, I don't have a full-time job right now, but I have 3 part-time jobs. So basically more than full-time. So like I said, I work with Ms. Ovales, Guam Marianas Training Center, with the Guam Regional Medical City. And my other part-time job is with Mountain Pacific Quality Health. I am a diabetic instructor. So we provide diabetes teaching for free to the community, especially to people with, who are Medicare beneficiaries, but we open it up to the community. So my colleague and I who works with Mountain Pacific, we have been to the adult daycares with Catholic Social Services. We're almost done with the senior centers in the different villages. We just finished, this week will be in Arahan. We're just done with Jonya, Talofofo, Agat. And also we provide this free diabetes teaching to anybody who wants to learn about diabetes. And with my other associations, which are all, of course, volunteer, with the Non-Communicable Disease Consortium, a committee with public health, and part of that group is being the vice chair of the Guam Diabetes Control Coalition, which is, I will be the chairperson in May, and also a member of the Guam Cancer Coalition. Part of that is in the Policy and Advocacy Committee of Guam Cancer Coalition. And as mentioned also, I've been very much involved with St. Paul's Assembly of God Medical Mission Group for the past over 5 years now, and we have provided medical missions here on the island and in the Philippines, and the last one was in Vietnam last year. So we try to do that every year. And my other association wherein I'm very much involved, of course, is Guam Diabetes Association. I'm sure you heard that every year we have the annual diabetes conference, and I'm maybe the perpetual secretary of that association. And of course, Mr. Taitagui, Senator Telo's father, is one of the pillars of Guam Diabetes Association. And then my alumni organization, which is the University of Santo Tomas Alumni Organization of Guam, and I was a former president and now one of the directors. And we're very much involved also in the community in terms of providing a scholarship program to GCC and UOG. And of course, how can I forget Guam Nurses Association? I think that's half of my life is with Guam Nurses Association. And like Ms. Rose Grigno has mentioned earlier, so I've been a volunteer executive director for so many years. And so my daughter told me, Mom, maybe you need to look for a job that pays a little bit, because a lot of your time is on volunteer. But I think that's a part of my life now is volunteerism in our community, and being nominated or appointed by our Governor Lou Leon Guerrero for this, to be a member of the GMH's Board of Trustees. It is an honor and privilege to be a part of GMH. And like I said, I worked there for 20 years. I want to give back. That's all, and thank you very much. Si Diyos Masi.
Thank you very much. Mr. Evaristo?
Good afternoon, Senators. I'd like to thank you for having me here today. I know you all have been pretty busy over the past several weeks confirming the different appointees. Combine that with the tasks that you folks already have in front of you, I'd say that makes for a full plate. My name is Byron Evaristo. I am the oldest son of Ronald and Maria Evaristo, who reside in Maymay Chalampago, but are originally from Lezang Barragata. Today is actually my mom's birthday, and she's probably giving me a really bad look right now, but that's okay. Aside from being a full-time banker, I'm also happy to say I'm a full-time husband to my better half, Ronnie. I'm also a full-time father to 3 incredible kids, Gabby, Ethan, and my youngest daughter, Edie, who's 5, a YouTube fanatic, and will more than likely watch this on replay at least 100 times. My father is a retired Air Force veteran, so naturally I grew up moving from place to place, adjusting to different schools, making new friends, and basically learning to adapt to change. Although I spent most of my childhood life abroad, I was born here. I finished high school on Guam. I'm a 2004 graduate from the University of Guam, almost immediately working for my bank shortly after graduating. My background is credit, and I am the Senior Vice President of Lending. I'm responsible for loan growth, asset liability management, which includes collections, as well as regulatory compliance relative to credit. Most recently, and after a 3-year program, I completed and graduated from the Pacific Coast Banking School, as Phil and Mark mentioned earlier, out of the University of Washington in Seattle. PCBS is considered the premier national graduate school of banking. I'm the first and only person from my bank to attend, be sent, and to graduate. That was an honor and a privilege to be there. For those who don't know me, I'm pretty straightforward. I'm a great listener, but most importantly, I'm honest. Not just to those seeking my opinion or asking for some guidance, but I'm honest with myself. What you see is what you get. I try to be as level-headed as possible when it comes to making difficult decisions, even those that may seem unfavorable or unpopular. When I first heard about my potential appointment to the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority Board, I recognized I had lots to learn, that there had been and continue to be challenges, but hopefully with my experience in the financial industry, I'd be able to add some value, or at least a fresh perspective in moving things forward. To conclude, I'm a local boy. The island means a lot to me. The condition we leave it in has an impact on our children. Should they choose to have families of their own in the future, the decisions we make today will have an effect on them down the road. So, how do we affect that change in a positive and healthy light? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Evaristo, and I also like to thank all of your family, friends, colleagues who've joined you today in support of your appointments to the Board of Trustees for Guam Memorial Hospital Authority. I'd like to recognize my colleague who just joined us, Senator Joe San Augustine. Thank you for being here today. So as you know, this can be a very challenging and demanding position that requires you to make important determinations that will have lasting impacts on the health and lives of our community members who utilize the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority. We have just a few questions that I'd like to ask so that we can put it on the record. To both of you, Mr. Evaristo and Ms. Almonte, do you have any continuing business interests or any potential conflicts of interest that may affect your ability to serve as a member of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority Board of Trustees?
No, I don't have any conflict of interest. I'm not a owner of any business or part of owner of any business. I thank you.
Not at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Evaristo, your professional background is in financial management with your current position in credit administration at Bank Pacific. How do you feel your skills and experience can make a difference at GMHA given the current circumstances at the hospital?
Good question. I'm an analyst by trade, and part of being a good analyst is to understand the information in front of you so that you can determine a best solution. I hope that my background in finance will at least allow everyone to look at things from a different perspective. Maybe I have some new ideas that haven't been brought to light, and hopefully with that background, I can be of use to everyone involved.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Evaristo, are there any specific areas of concern at GMHA that you plan to address as a Board of Trustee member? Yeah.
Well, it's a little too early to pinpoint specifics right now, but obviously CMS, from what I've read on, I think that's kind of an urgent matter that would definitely need to be tackled right away. I'd have a ton of questions, so definitely.
Okay. Ms. Almonte, as a nurse for over 40 years, in direct patient care in the hospital, urgent care, home care setting, What are some of the challenges to patient care that you have encountered and plan to address in your new capacity as a member of the Board of Trustees?
Okay, during this past 40 years, I've seen so many issues, faced challenges. There are two that I would like to address and probably have focus on are the patients who are admitted without insurance or underinsured. This puts a lot of undue stress to the patient and the family. And actually, I've met some individuals there out there in the community that they have been here on Guam for more than 10 years and they cannot get any insurance under the government. Like, of course, I know there are laws, rules, and regulations that will not put them in that area where they can receive MIP or Medicaid. But I think we can do something about that. Of course, that's out of my hands, but in your hands as senators, we can do something about it because they will be put in darkness. They're admitted, of course, if they're admitted in the hospital setting, who will absorb the cost as taxpayers. Okay. Another challenging situation that I've seen before is the care transition. Patients who are admitted at the hospital, sometimes they don't have any community resources. What I mean is, because I've been in that care transition team, which was initiated by Mountain Pacific Quality Health in the past, but that group died maybe because people, they're so busy with their work that they don't have time to put in that group. So what I mean is, if there's a patient that will be discharged needing home health, needing supplies and equipment in the home environment, okay, some of these people, they have to do it on their own. Oh, yes, I recognize that we have social services in the hospital, but there are instances, and I've seen those, I've experienced those, especially when I was working as a home care nurse. We receive referrals, but then there's no doctor for that patient to take care of within the home care. Why? Because this patient is under MIP or there's no health insurance. And so in a home care area, we cannot provide the home services without a doctor taking care of this patient. So what I have done before is whoever's the doctor that made the order for discharge to home care, I talk to that doctor and say, Doc, can you stay for a while as the attending physician in home health while we look for a doctor for this patient, or while we wait for public health to accept the patient? Because public health doctors, we know that they're very short also. Sometimes if you refer a patient to them and they have not seen that patient in the past, they will not take that patient. So we have to make a schedule for them. So sort of like case management. And this involves a lot of people, not only in nursing, not only social services, but the other healthcare providers. And to have a better system in care transition will prevent re-hospitalization or readmission. And we don't want that, especially when we talk about Medicare reimbursement. We want that when patients are discharged home, they will not go back to the hospital very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think you kind of answered my next question, but if you'd like to expand a little more of how you feel your skills and your experience can make a difference with GMH's current situation.
Yes, I will work closely with, I think the hospital now has a case management officer. They didn't have that before, but they have it now. So I'll be working closely with that person and also with the social services department.
Thank you. And now for both of you, Mr. Evaristo and Ms. Almonte, are you both familiar, I know you mentioned it a little bit, Mr. Evaristo, with the CMS citations or 7 areas of noncompliance, and how committed are you to learning the details that it is going to take to be able to assist the GMH management in addressing these concerns?
I have not really read the 7 citations, but I went through some of the readings, information about Medicare survey results, and I think most of them are within the management areas. What I would like to do is, and I know that GMH, the previous administration, have developed a corrective action for those citations. So what I would do is read and get more familiar with those citations and really work with the Board of Trustees and the management team in order to correct those citations. And so with Medicare, we don't want to lose Medicare accreditation because that will put the hospital in danger in terms of patient care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a serious situation. I think over 50% is coming from CMS, right? So I'd like to work with Lillian, kind of hear from her what plans that they have in place, are there any timelines to carry out those plans and determine how far along we are or where we will be, because I understand the corrective action is kind of in the works. It's one thing to set a plan, and it's another thing to set a timeline and to follow through on those plans. So I'd have a lot of questions that I'd have to sit with her and the Board of Trustees to determine.
Thank you. CMS has cited several issues related to its governing body, such as the board not meeting regularly. Are you going to be able to make the monthly meetings so that the board is able to meet quorum regularly? And what will you do as a board member to ensure that CMS is convinced that the board is actively overseeing and participating in the management decisions of GMH?
You know, it sounds like this is kind of an ongoing issue from what I've read. It's not a new issue. And I think the new proposal on the table is to meet quarterly so that people can schedule it in advance. With all the issues that the hospital has and with the CMS 7 citation, I'm not sure quarterly would work for me. I think meeting more regularly to tackle those issues is going to be required, at least until things are under control and those timelines I mentioned earlier, that they're being met and they're being tracked. It's hard to stay on top of things when you're rarely meeting. So I'd like to be consistent.
I know I will attend meetings, except of course when I'm on my deathbed. But I really attend meetings, so I am involved in a lot of organizations, sometimes back-to-back meeting, and I'm there. Of course, like what Ms. Ovalle said earlier, when I'm off island, then of course I will not be able to attend, but I really try my best to attend all meetings that I'm involved with. And making sure, showing CMS that the Board of Trustees is really involved in the administration. I think we have to show our face in their meetings and not micromanaging the administration, but also providing our assistance if they need us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure our committee is very glad to hear of your commitment and your willingness to learn. And I'd like to also ask if you're both willing to insist and upkeep administrative transparency with the Board of Trustees in all matters dealing with the financial status of GMHA.
Finances, of course, that's very important. Again, that's usually the life of the hospital. We know that the hospital has always been in a bind in terms of finances. But yes, I'd like to see a transparency when it comes to financial situation with administration, because that's the only way we can help each other is to be transparent in what we do. Thank you.
For me, yes. I mean, should I be confirmed? I'm coming in with a fresh set of eyes. I intend to put my ears to the floor and come in with a clear conscience. I don't know if anyone on the board knows who I am. So transparency at this point is kind of all I have right now.
Okay. The Office of Public Accountability released the results of a recent audit conducted in February 2019 on the billing and collections on true self-pay accounts. According to the audit, billing and collections practices did not comply with applicable laws, rules, and regulations, and policies and procedures. Management allowed non-collection or untimely collection of past due accounts by not instituting a rigorous billing and collection system. As a result of non-collection, $19.8 million billed between January 2017 and June 2018 remained uncollected. The OPA states that this non-collection may affect the hospital's ability to provide quality patient care. How do you plan to improve billing and collection practices?
Well, for me, first thing is I like to review the OPA report. I try not to get too excited when it comes to audits until I've gone through it line by line. That's just kind of my style. Audits serve a purpose, and it's usually to improve. So I'd like to review the hospital's collection policies and procedures, identify potential weaknesses, and look to improve upon them.
Okay, on my part, with this uncollected money, that's really a lot of money that we should be able to use for supplies, equipment, and other staffing. And so I would like to, my plan is to, of course, review and find out the reasons why this amount of money was uncollected. They were billed, like again, some rules and regulations, laws, as was placed in the audit, they were not followed through. So why were they not followed? Why were they not implemented? So I guess we can, after that, then we can suggest a better and improved systems with Mr. Evaristo here, with his expertise in the Board of Trustees. Then we will be able to plan and establish a better system in collections, billing and collections. And another important thing there also is put the right people, okay? So we need to have the right people, seasoned people, billers, collectors in that area. And last, if the department cannot really do all this collection, we probably need some assistance, maybe outsource collection to some extent. And then after that, if we're able to collect all that money, then we can go back to GMH and say, okay, now we have the right people now, maybe you can do your own billing and collection. But we can use as much help as possible in order to collect that big amount of money. I thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask my colleagues if they have any questions or comments. Senator Torres?
Susan Mossy. First, Mr. Evaristo, I want to thank you for accepting the nomination. Clearly, as a member representing the general public, you bring with you, from just what I've observed today, a good practical common sense and a drive that is exactly right for the position. You mentioned very early on in introducing yourself, your parents, your wife, your family, your career, and all the things that a lot of us aspire to have right about what we do as individuals. And so, as a member of the Guam Memorial Board, I feel confident that you will bring that practical common sense that is driven by the wholesomeness that should be the driving factor in everything that you do. So I don't necessarily have any questions. I just want to congratulate you also for taking the position and for recognizing the need to address what the public auditor identified as essentially 90% of uncollected fees at the hospital. So I wish you luck, and you certainly have my support. And Ms. Almonte, it's very apparent from the testimony and from your resume that you treasure and value the importance of a coalition of healthcare providers on Guam. We are always concerned about the sustainability and the livelihood of GMH. And what we also recognize is that in order for GMH to prosper, it must prosper in tandem with the other two hospitals and all the healthcare providers. And I believe that your resume and what you've discussed today and what others have testified in your favor, it demonstrates that all those factors about what we need to do to ensure adequate healthcare and an alliance of healthcare provisions for the hospital and others is realized. So I'm very pleased and grateful that the governor recognized your importance and your tenure as a professional nurse and all the years that you've given very good service and dedication to our community. So you certainly have my support, and I just want to congratulate you and thank you.
Thank you. Senator Rogel?
No questions, just a few comments. I'd like to congratulate both of you on your nomination and thank you both for accepting it as well, because obviously there is a very serious task ahead for you both and for all of us really in getting the Guam's only public hospital to where it needs to be. And I'm just very happy to hear about the testimony on behalf of both of you today. Ms. Almonte, I'm happy to hear that you have a lot of experience in the healthcare field as a registered nurse, and I think that's good. As well with Mr. Evaristo, I like hearing about your financial background, which also I think is needed at the hospital, particularly your experience with collections, which we all know is something that's very important at the hospital. We need to figure out how to collect that money that's owed. So I look forward to working with both of you, and I'm just very pleased to hear the testimony today. Thank you and good luck.
Senator Moylan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For both of you, Mrs. Almonte and Mr. Evaristo, thank you very much. You both come from highly recommended, and from what I hear, both seem excellent for the job. Ma'am, you have great recommendations from the Guam Nursing Association and the Guam Marianas Training Center. Everybody seems to love you, so I'm excited about that. That's great. And sir, professional and friends, we're up here as well, and to have your boss come over and say he's willing to give you some time to help out our hospital, that's really important to me. So I'm sure you're going to do a really good job because he's giving you the time and he trusts in you, and therefore I trust in him as well, and I trust in both of you. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to you both doing great things for our island. Thank you so much.
Senator Munya?
Thank you. I'll start with Ms. Almonte. Thank you so much for bringing all of your expertise and as a co-member with you with the Guam Cancer Coalition as part of the policy and advocacy group. I trust that you will assist GMH, and with all the knowledge that you've had working there in the past, that you know all the problems and you know how we can try to navigate ourselves through it and fix it. And so I just want to thank you very much for that. And also, not that you have enough to do already, but at least with the small little stipend, it's not a paying job, but at least they'll pay you to go to meetings. So, you know, I don't know if maybe it'll put some gas money in your car, but at least it has that, right? So now for Byron, we share the same friend, and Lloyd is a very trustworthy friend to me, and he speaks really highly of you and has for many years. So anyone who Lloyd trusts, I know I can trust too. And I want to thank you for stepping into our uncharted territory and welcome you. I know it's not going to be easy putting your foot in the medical field, especially something as controversy as brings a lot of controversy like GMH. But I just wanted to, not that I'm going to read your testimony again, but when you say you're pretty straightforward and you're very honest, we definitely need that. And for you to be as level-headed as possible when it comes to making difficult decisions. And I hope you know that we're going to hold you to that, right? Those words. because of a lot of the controversies in the last year between the physicians and the staff, and including the board, that your honesty will be definitely highly welcomed by all of us up here on the panel. Also remember that the qualifications for the Board of Trustees says that you shall strive for a balanced representation of the general population. So thank you so much for taking this next leap of faith for both of you, Ms. Almonte and Mr. Evaristo. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Munoz. Senator Taitegui?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon. I'm going to start with you, Brian, Mr. Evaristo. I don't know you personally, but just judging by your demeanor and your testimony, I think you will be a straightforward guy, like my colleague said. But I did really appreciate two things that you said. One of them was a fresh set of eyes. You know, it's very important to bring that perspective to that table. And the other one was quarterly meetings, that you didn't agree to that, and I hope you push forward on that, because I truly believe it's important, more than with such a controversial agency like this, and an agency that needs so much help. You should be meeting at least once a month and not quarterly. And I know, Mr. Evaristo, that you have children, so I hope you can balance it. You know, women, we multitask, but so I hope you can learn from your wife and know how to multitask and be able to not only do a great job at the Guam Memorial Hospital on the board, but also continue to be a great father and husband and son as well. So thank you so much for stepping up to the plate, because it is a difficult position, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say and on your first board meeting. Ms. Almonte, I've had the privilege of watching you teach a class. My father asked me to come along a couple times when they had the diabetes programs going out, and you were just amazing there. You kept people interested. You're definitely a great instructor and a wealth of knowledge. And I greatly appreciate taking the time to do something like this, because it's very difficult. And I know that there's some talk, because you work for Guam GMRC, and you don't for Guam Memorial Hospital. It's kind of almost a conflict of interest. Some people might think so, but I'm very confident that you'll be very fair, and that you'll be there to make sure that Guam Memorial grows and becomes the hospital that we, the people of Guam, deserve. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Senator San Augustine?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Evaristo and Ms. Amante, I'd like to thank you first for accepting the appointment. And I would be expecting your active involvement with the board, because as soon as I get the budget, I will call the budget hearing, and I will be expecting your active participation, because I'm hoping to see the Guam Memorial Hospital to the road to recovery. And you come in, Ms. Evaristo or Ms. Amante, coming from GRMC, I expect maybe GMH will look like GRMC soon, if not sooner. And I got Phil in the background saying, yeah, right, but that's okay. I'm gonna just hope for the best for GMH, and I expect a lot from you, and you both have my support. We wanna see that road to recovery. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, I would like to thank you, Mr. Evaristo and Ms. Almonte, for being here today, for accepting these appointments. I'd like to thank all of your colleagues, your friends, your family who came to support you and to testify. We will continue to accept written testimony for their appointments until March 14th. You may submit testimonies to the office of Senator Terlahi directly at the Ada Plaza Center, Suite 207 at 173 Aspinall Avenue, Hagåtña, Guam, 96910, or to the mailroom of the Guam Legislature in the Guam Congress Building, or through email at senatorterlahiguam@gmail.com. There being no further testimony at this time, I will consider these two appointments duly heard. Sadu Asmasi. We will take a short recess before we move into the next appointment hearings. Thank you. Hafaday, and welcome back, everyone. The next items on the agenda are the appointment of Pedro P. Atta as member of the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors and the appointment of Flori Ann de la Cruz as youth member of the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Notices for this confirmation hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on February 26, 2019, and again on March 1st, 2019. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on February 26th and March 4th, 2019. Again, I would like to thank the public for attending this afternoon's hearing. Before we hear from the panel, I would first like to read the duties of the Guam Visitors Bureau's Board of Directors as stated in Section 9107, Chapter 9 of Title 12, Guam Code Annotated. Same duties, the board shall A, promote visitor satisfaction with Guam as a tourist destination and facilitate the orderly growth and maintenance of the visitor industry. B, encourage and support the employment of local residents in job opportunities in the tourism industry. C, assist in the development of adequate tourist facilities and attractions, including local beautification projects. D, work with other entities to collect, analyze, and evaluate pertinent data on the visitor industry developed by itself, other governmental and private agencies, and publish and disseminate comprehensive statistics and other data on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. Provide advice and technical assistance to tourism development organizations in planning programs to attract visitors, and develop and disseminate literature for distribution to visitors and potential visitors to the territory. Cooperate with regional agencies promoting Micronesia and the Mariana Islands as a tourist destination. Encourage and support local activities, programs, and development which would enhance Guam as an attractive tourist destination. Support the marketing of local arts, handicrafts, and other manufactured products to visitors, and encourage local cultural activities for tourists and general public enjoyment. For the record, we have received written testimony prior to this hearing from Governor Joseph Atta, Dr. Fred Schuman, Kathy Scrow, Brian San Nicolas, Joanne Camacho, Milton Morinaga, Pilar Laguarnia, and Annette Tyron Sanchez in support of Mr. Pedro P. Atta. We also received written testimony from Dr. Annette Tyron Sanchez, Maria Teresa O'Brien, Pilar Pangilinan, Milton Morinaga, and Pilar Laguarnia in support of Ms. Flori Ann de la Cruz. Before we accept testimony on behalf of the nominees, we kindly ask that testimony be limited to 3 to 5 minutes to allow for the timely progression of this afternoon's hearing. Okay, can we please call up to the table Milton Morinaga, Pilar Laguarnia, Brian San Nicolas, First Lady Joanne Camacho, Mr. Chuck Atta, Mr. Dan Tidinko, there's one more chair. Okay. All right, Sijis Masi, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin with you, Mr. Morinaga, on the appointment of Flori Ann de la Cruz.
Hafaday. For the record, my name is Milton Morinaga, currently chairman of the board for the Guam Visitors Bureau. Hafaday. Madam Chair, Senator Nelson, and the members of the Committee of Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land and Justice. Thank you for allowing me to submit testimony to support of the appointment of Flori Ann de la Cruz to the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Ms. de la Cruz is a bright young woman. She graduated from the University of Guam with a degree of Business Administration. She also received her associate degrees in liberal arts and travel and tourism management. She additionally has job experience working in retail, telecommunication, retirement plan management. All her involvement in different organizations and activities in her college career have laid the groundwork for the next steps in serving the community as a youth representative of GBB's board. Guam's youth are our future, and they have stake in how the island tourism industry grow. There's no better time for Ms. De La Cruz to share her thoughts and ideas on what tourism means to our young people and how we can reach out and make it better for them. One day we will have to pass along torch to them, and I want to make sure we are prepared for that. We look forward to Ms. De La Cruz's input and presence in our board of meetings. Jesus Maasi, for this opportunity to support Ms. De La Cruz's appointment to the GBB Board of Directors.
Thank you very much. Ms. LaGuardia?
Thank you, and for the record, my name is Pilar Laguardia, President of Guam Visitors Bureau. Hafaday, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land, and Justice. Sidus Maasi for allowing me to submit testimony in support of the appointment of Florian De La Cruz to the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors as the youth representative. As a graduate from the University of Guam with a Business Administration degree, Ms. De La Cruz has a unique opportunity to take what she has learned in school and use it to guide Guam's tourism industry. She was also recognized with the Academic Excellence Award in International Tourism and Hospitality Management. Her work experience in marketing and sales, as well as her professional involvement with organizations such as the American Marketing Association and the Pacific Asia Travel Association, PATA, will no doubt be beneficial to our board of directors. We look forward to her energy and her fresh perspective. I think it's wonderful for her to volunteer her time in serving the Bureau and the people of Guam. I have witnessed Ms. De La Cruz in action in international tourism marketing venues and can share with you that she represents our island extremely well. I personally feel it is important that our young people should take more active roles in our community and help shape the direction of our island's future. We have this short time to be caretakers of Guam's tourism industry, but tourism is for everyone. I strongly feel we must include young, bright minds like Ms. De La Cruz to the table. Thank you again for this opportunity to support Ms. De La Cruz's appointment to the GVB Board of Directors. Senator Morenti, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brian Nicholas.
Afternoon, thank you, Madam Chairperson. I'm here in support of the appointment of Peter Sonny Atta to become a member of the Board of Directors, Guam Visitors Bureau. Thank you for the opportunity again to submit testimony in favor of Mr. Atta. I will not speak to Mr. Atta's educational and professional experience, as these criteria are clearly and fully documented in the submission of his appointment by the Governor of Guam. However, I will share my experience of his character and family values. I've known Sonny Atta since we were first graders across the street at Cathedral Grade School only a few years ago. My sisters knew him and his sisters, and we were all happy to know that our parents were friends and knew each other during the Reconstruction period after the war. Sonny and I graduated from Father Duenas Memorial High School in 1979, and like our other classmates, went our separate ways to learn more about the world before returning home to eventually work, live, and raise our families. Aside from my childhood and academic experience with Sonny, I've also gotten to know him more on a personal level. He has a strong sense of family and is keenly aware of the Chamorro culture, history, and traditions, as we have collaborated and shared knowledge and materials for various community and historical projects. His ability to balance his family, professional, and personal life will make him a more grounded and principled board member. Sonny both loves and is committed to Guam. In closing, I would like to tell you of my father, Jose San Nicolas, who did something unusual in the early 1950s on Guam. He left to attend college in South Dakota. Sonny's father, Pedro Atta, did the same but attended college in Minnesota. Both later served in the military sometime afterwards. I know both men discussed the idea of their children going off island to travel and learn and then returning home someday after to help their island move forward, because if they did not, and I quote, then who will? I have no doubt that our fathers shared and discussed this and other related values with each other, and it is interesting and noteworthy how Sonny and I continue to do the same. Our children are just about done with college. They know each other, will be returning home, and perhaps one day their children will follow in the footsteps of their fathers and grandfathers and will as well and help their island move forward. I strongly support his appointment, Sonny Atta, and humbly ask that your colleagues in the 35th Guam Legislature also confirm Peter Sonny Atta as a member of the Board of Directors, Guam Visitors Bureau. Sidus Masi, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. St. Nicholas. First Lady Joanne.
Hafaday Senator Amanda Shelton and members of the Committee on Tourism. Suzu's Maasi, and thank you for allowing me to present testimony today in support of the appointment of Pedro Sonny Atta to the board of the Guam Visitors Bureau. Mr. Atta is no stranger to the tourism industry. His family is originally from the village of Tumuning and continues to operate successful businesses throughout the island that has contributed to growing our economy. His love for our island and our people will ensure that our #1 industry, tourism, will be enhanced and flourish, showcasing our culture and our island's beauty to visitors and residents alike. The importance of tourism to our island's economy cannot be overstated. Since 2010, it has grown to provide more than 21,000 jobs for our people and over $260 million in revenues to the government of Guam. We are reaping the greatest benefits of this industry we have ever experienced since its inception since 1963. As a successful businessman, Mr. Atta has the acumen and professional relationships to meaningfully contribute to the growing success of our tourism industry. He is also no stranger to the Guam Visitors Bureau. He has served as chairman for the board of directors from the late 1980s to early 1990s. We are confident in his ability to help drive policies that will not only support the growth of the industry we experience today, but also take it to the next level. We ask for your support to confirm the nomination of Mr. Pedro Sonny Atta to the board of directors of the Guam Visitors Bureau. Suzu's Maasi.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chuck Atta.
Hafaday, good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Committee on Health, Tourism, Historical Preservation, Land and Justice. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide testimony in favor of Mr. Pedro P. Atta to serve our island in the capacity as a member of the Board of Directors with the Guam Visitors Bureau. My name is Charles H. Atta II. I'm currently employed with the United States Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency. However, I'm here today on my own time, speaking as a private citizen. Mr. Pedro Atta, who is relation to me, and whom I acknowledge and proudly recognize as Uncle Sonny, is an excellent appointment by the Longueuil Tenor administration to serve on the Board of Directors of the Guam Visitors Bureau. Uncle Sonny is a well-known and respected businessman that has been operating successfully the past few decades and growing the various lines of businesses on island, across the Pacific, into Asia, and onto the continental United States. He has a great understanding of local, regional, and global commerce, which is extremely important in our continuing efforts to grow our island economy and visitor industry. Prior to my employment with the federal government, I served the people of Guam and the region as executive manager of the Guam International Airport Authority for 7 years. It was during this time that I was blessed with the opportunity to work on a professional level with Uncle Sonny, as he served on the board of directors of the Guam Airport Authority. I provided over 26 years of service to the government of Guam, 16 years at the cabinet level, and I can say with confidence and without a doubt that the airport board of directors during that particular timeline was the most successful board within the government of Guam. The leadership that Uncle Sonny brought to the table and the synergy amongst the other board members provided the framework that the airport the framework for the airport management and staff to achieve unprecedented success, not only in Guam airport history, but to include the entire aviation system of the Pacific region as well. Uncle Sonny has done his time with the Guam International Airport Authority, which resulted in more than double the amount of signatory airlines operating to and from our island's airport. Air cargo operations into Guam has tripled and recently have upsized their aircrafts. The vision to strategically leverage airport assets has resulted in a continuous increase of non-aeronautical revenue over aeronautical revenues, a goal that every airport strives to achieve, but unfortunately not all accomplish. The Guam Airport has an impeccable safety record recognized by the federal government and is second to none within the entire Pacific region. The list goes on way past the allowable 5 minutes for testimony today. And in closing, I humbly ask for your favorable support with Uncle Sonny's confirmation to the Board of Directors. I'm extremely excited for the success that he will achieve with his peers alongside the management and staff of the Guam Visitors Bureau. Thank you, and Sejus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Atta. Mr. Tidinko?
Thank you, Senator Shelton, for according me the opportunity to deliver a little bit of testimony for Sonny as the nominee to the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Thank you, Senator San Agustin, Senator Taitui, Senator Muñoz, Senator Camacho, Senator Moylan, Senator Camacho, Senator Rigel, and Senator Bisco Lee. Just to attest a little bit to Sonny's character, like Brian, we all grew up together. I've known Sonny practically my entire life, and we're more than friends. We're like brothers. When he told me the governor wanted him to get back and contribute with some community and civic service, Sonny was actually very, very reluctant and apprehensive about coming back in. He had contributed previously in a capacity over at GVB. When he was the former board director and chairman of that. And he had just, prior to that, under the Calvo administration, he had served at the Airport Board of Directors and also the University of Guam Board of Regents. But he dived out of public service simply because he was attending to and helping with his parents who were in their twilight years and making sure that the family business was running on all pistons alongside of his sisters, Teresa and Patty, and the other sisters who are off island, and he was just still very apprehensive about getting back in. And when we had lunch, coincidentally, recently with former Governor Joe Atta and former Senator John Uggan, both who were instrumental in the glory years of tourism when it was emerging here on island, and Sonny was the chairman of GVB at that time, we were kind of saying, hey, Sonny, you know, you're the one who cracked 1 million visitors to come into the island for the first time when under that regime with Governor Atta then and Senator Uggan chairing the tourism committee. And they were saying, Sonny, you really got to go back in and try and help see how we can enhance the industry further. So Sonny sat alongside of me when the governor tasked me to help her with the transition for the Guam Visitors Bureau as one of the entities. And Sonny volunteered to come and serve in that particular committee, overseeing GVB and a few other components on the economic development side. I think he's gotten a greater appreciation from where he left off, having been active in the industry a couple of decades ago, but he's got an appreciation of the $45 million revenue driver that the TAF is right now for the territory and the monies that are being sent over to GVB for its operations and the other balance in which the legislature makes the appropriations to various entities. He's going to make sure that those resources are aligned properly for the benefit of not just the visitors that come into an island, but also for the residents alike here who go to the parks and who want to make sure that our island is a nice place, not only just to visit, but a nice place to live as well. And there's other issues that I'm sure that he's going to align himself well with all of the subsectors of the tourism industry. He's got all that capacity and capability to be able to do that, and I have utmost confidence in him. I hope that you guys favorably consider his confirmation at the earliest moment possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And back to Mr. Morinaga.
Thank you very much. I have another oral testimony for Mr. Atta here. Jesus Maasi for allowing me to submit testimony to support the appointment of Pedro Perez Ada, also known as Sunny Ada, to the Guam Business Bureau of Directors. Mr. Ada is a well-established entrepreneur serving as president of Ada's Trust and Investment, Inc. since the mid-1980s. He has been serving the community in various other roles just as long. Mr. Ada is quite familiar with Guam Business Bureau, having served as board chairman when the tourism boom on the 90s was building. It's appropriate and that he is called to serve on his board of directors now that we are experiencing record numbers and are looking to new horizon for our industry. I also appreciate that he has devoted so much of his time helping and guiding boards for over 30 years. The GVB board has much to gain and his years of experience and expertise. I personally welcome him as we get along great. He loves golf, traveling, just as much as I do. More importantly, we both truly love Guam. Thank you again and for this opportunity to support Mr. Ada's appointment to the GBB Board of Directors, Biba Guam.
Thank you, Biba. Ms. LaGuardia?
Buenos dias, half a day, Madam Chairwoman Shelton, and members of the Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land, and Justice. Thank you for allowing me to submit testimony in support of the appointment of Pedro Perez Ada, also known as Sunny Ada, to the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Mr. Ada is no stranger to GVB. Having served in our board of directors since 1987 through the mid-1990s, he has guided GVB for several years as its board chairman. His years of experience in the tourism industry are even more valuable as we transition into the next era of Guam's tourism industry. During his time at GVB, Guam experienced record growth in major markets of Japan and Korea, as well as growth and diversification in other markets such as Taiwan and the United States. Japan took up 80% of our market mix, but the visa waiver was extended to South Korea, and the Korean market quickly became Guam's second top market. Several new hotels opened and existing ones expanded. We celebrated the 25th anniversary of tourism and began developing new custom forms to learn more about our visitors. But that era was not without its challenge, as the back-to-back typhoons, the Persian Gulf War, and in 1993, the earthquake affected Guam's tourism industry. Guam recovered fairly quickly, with the island welcoming its first 1 millionth visitor in 1994. We kept growing with double-digit increases in visitor arrivals in the years that followed. All of this happened when Mr. Ada was our chairman. Mr. Ada's expertise in real estate development and management and serving in other boards will no doubt be beneficial to the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. He knows a thing or two about doing business on Guam, as well as community service. He has been president of Ada's Trust and Investment, Inc. since 1985. He has sat on multiple boards for at least 3 decades, including the American Red Cross, ComNavMar, Guam Chamber of Commerce, the Pacific Asia Travel Association, PATA, University of Guam Endowment Foundation, and the Board of Regents, and most recently, the Guam International Airport Authority. Mr. Ada will serve as our incoming board chairman, and we rely on his guidance to develop policies and set directions for many programs and opportunities that will make Guam a better place to visit, work, and live. On a personal note, I have known Mr. Ada, his wife Jen, and son Nathan for a majority of my career at the Bureau. He is extremely personable, intelligent, and passionate about our island. He is the right man for the job, and I have confidence in his abilities to lead the board and continue serving our people. Sidus Maasi again for this opportunity to support Mr. Addis' appointment to the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify? Okay. Any of my colleagues have questions for the panel? No? Okay. Senator San Augustine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to remind Milton that you forgot one thing. When you said Sonny likes to golf and travel, you haven't got him to buy a motorcycle yet. So I think that's what Sonny's missing, Milton. But you know, I do look forward and I do appreciate all the testimony, especially from Chuck when he calls Sonny Uncle Sonny. I Chuck, night dot. But that's okay, Chuck. I understand.
If I may, Senator San Augustine, a couple of years ago, he used to ride up and down Tumon on some scooters with his wife.
Oh, he did?
But somebody socked them from the house.
Okay. We need to get him a three-wheeler, but you know what? I really appreciate all the testimonies that have been presented in reference to Ms. De La Cruz and in reference to Sonny. And I know that probably the two candidates will be testifying, and I look forward in supporting them at the end of this month. Hopefully it'll be presented. And I look forward to seeing the $2 million. Since you broke the $1 million, we'll be looking out for the $2 or $3 million tourist arrivals. You know, he's got a lot of expertise. I don't know why Pilar was so kind to say only was that one or two things? You got him loaded up with a lot of expertise. And then I'll be meeting with Sonny about another issue. But I look forward to that and being the oversight of the appropriation and budget. We'll be reaching out for his recommendation and advice on where the money should go when any appropriation is going to be considered coming from GVB. All right? Thank you.
Senator Tydegui.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really don't have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment and congratulate Pilar Laguana on her appointment as the president of GVB. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Senator.
I believe there's one more person who wishes to testify. Can you please come up? Is it? Okay. Mr. James Fatal, go ahead.
Buenos and half a day, Senator and Madam Chair. My name is James Fatal. I'm a TRIO program coordinator at Guam Community College. It is my great pleasure to stand before you today to speak in support of Ms. Florian De La Cruz for her confirmation to become a youth member of a Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Ms. Florian was an active participant at our Guam Community College TRIO program and has served as one of our TRIO program tutors since fall 2014 semester. It was a privilege to have Ms. Florian De La Cruz as our student participant and a tutor for our program. She was one of our outstanding honor student of our Project AIM TRIO program. She was selected as Student of the Year for 2015-16 TRIO program. She graduated at Guam Community College in spring 2016 with honors in Associate of Arts degree in Travel and Tourism Management with a 4.0 GPA, and also graduated at University of Guam last December in Marketing and International Tourism and Hospitality Management with magna cum laude. Ms. Florian De La Cruz has many accomplishments and awards. She has always been an active student member and a vice president of many student organizations since high school through colleges. Also volunteer in many community activities. She has demonstrated great leadership skills, collaborative ability, thoughtfulness, and genuine compassion for others were shown through her willingness to go extra step to help others. In whole, she is an exemplary student and outstanding person. I offer my complete support, and I highly recommend Ms. Florian De La Cruz to be one of the youth member of Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. I am fully convinced and confident that she has what it is necessary to achieve her goals and succeed in all that she may set before her. Thank you in advance for consideration for her confirmation.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who testified today. And now we'll hear testimony from Ms. Stella Cruz and from Mr. Ada Situasmasi. Hafide and welcome. Thank you very much for being here today, and thank you for accepting the appointments. We'll start with you, Ms. Stella Cruz.
Hafide, everyone, and thank you all for making the time to join us today. And Hafide, Senator Biscoli, Senator Ridgel, Senator Torres, and Senator Shelton, Senator Moylan, Senator Munya, Senator Taitagui, and Senator San Agustin. My name is Florian de la Cruz, and prior to all being here today, I was actually just at ASC Trust working and preparing for our big conference for tomorrow. I am currently working there as their marketing specialist. And just last semester, as mentioned, I was just a student at the University of Guam studying to attain my bachelor degree in business administration with concentrations in marketing and international tourism and hospitality management. And even before that, I was a student at Guam Community College, and I was studying to attain my degree in travel and tourism management and also liberal arts. And even before that, in high school, I was in a tourism academy at Ukudu High School, where I was working my way to not only achieve my high school diploma, but also my certificate of mastery in lodging management program. And I was also given an opportunity to represent our island in Orlando, Florida, for where our team, or our island, placed second in an international hospitality and tourism competition. And looking back now, I've realized that I have had a long history with tourism and hospitality, not only as a student, but also as an everyday person, since the industry is all around us every day. And upon learning about this position, I was already excited to be able to work and collaborate with our industry leaders for the betterment of our tourism industry is definitely one of the things that I would hope to do so one day. And as a student, I have shared and brainstormed ideas and thoughts to my peers and professors on different ways that we can improve and develop our tourism industry. And some of these things are things like finding different visitors market that we can capture, and also different ways for us to make our island a more attractive and a more attractive tourism destination. I am truly honored to know that it will be happening in a more direct scale through becoming a youth member of Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. And I look forward to working and developing strategies and opportunities for our tourism industry with the board. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dela Cruz. Mr. Ada?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for senators, for your time and the opportunity to come before this Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land, and Justice. I am seeking your support for my appointment by Governor Lou Leon Guerrero to the Board of Directors of the Guam Visitors Bureau. I was born and raised on Guam, and Guam remains my home. Most of you perhaps know me as Sonny, but that is actually my nickname. My birth name is Pedro Perez Ada. I am the grandson of the late Don Pedro and Tan Maria Ada, founders of the old Ada's Markets. Maybe some of you are too young to remember the Ada's Markets, but maybe you remember the Adaseyu Markets. I am the son of the late Pedro and Faye Ada, great parents and great citizens of Guam, and founders of the company I work for, Addis Trust and Investment, Inc. I am married to Jennifer Atta, and we have one son. Guess what his name is? Pedro Nathan. I attended Cathedral Grade School, as Mr. St. Nicholas brought up. We also attended Bishop Upton Junior High School, and I am a proud graduate of the Father Dueñas class of '79. I went on to the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota, where I graduated in 1983 with a degree in business. My current business involvement includes President and Chairman of Addis Trust and Investment, Inc., Chairman and member of the Executive Committee of NAMBO Guam Limited, Chairman of Guahan Insurance Services, Board Director of ASC Trust, Vice President and Vice Chairman of the Board of Marianas Finance Corporation, Board Director of Pacific Textile Laundry, Vice President and Board Director of Pacifica Insurance Underwriters of Saipan, and I'm a member since July 2018 of the University of Guam Island Sustainability Community Advisory Board. I'd like to say that I do not believe that any of the companies I'm involved in, nor businesses I'm involved in, pose a direct conflict of interest should I serve on the board of the GVB. Previous civic and government boards include University of Guam Board of Regents from 2004 to 2012. I did serve as chairman at some point there. I was the president of the Archdiocese Finance Council from 2012 to 2017, board director of the Guam International Airport Authority Board of Directors from 2013 to 2014. I was also a board director of the Guam Chamber of Commerce for 20 years, from 1989 to 2009, and had served as chairman. I was also on the Guam Visitors Bureau Board of Directors from 1987 to 1993 and served as chairman. You know, I'm glad Ms. Dela Cruz is, and there's a provision in the board makeup to have young folks involved, because I remember my time at the Bureau and my time at the Guam Chamber of Commerce when I was young. That was more or less my MBA. So I hope this background provides you with some of my history and experience, and I hope this experience provides qualification to serve on the GVB Board of Directors, where I had served 26 years ago. Further to the mandate, if you will, of the Guam Visitors Bureau, which is a nonprofit membership corporation and the official tourism agency of the United States territory of Guam. Among its responsibilities, GVB is charged with setting tourism policy and direction, developing and implementing Guam's tourism strategic and marketing plans, managing programs and activities that enhance and showcase Guam's people, place, and culture in order to deliver an incomparable visitor experience, and coordinating tourism-related research, planning, events, and outreach activities. GVB serves as a critical bridge linking government and private sectors, the tourism industry, visitors, and the local community, and aims to contribute successfully to a good quality of life for residents through tourism. The priority of GVB is marketing. If confirmed to serve, I will do my best to help guide GVB to follow this mandate and execute its mission successfully and with transparency. Now, a little bit about my look at the Bureau. I haven't been involved for, as I mentioned, 26 years, but again, here's a brief look at, or brief spiel, if you will, of how I see the Bureau. As I understand it, the Bureau's work is still guided by the 2012 Tourism 2020 Plan. Tourism 2020 is an excellent document with input and buy-in from island stakeholders and their representatives. As you know, I've taken the liberty to send you all a copy yesterday. But as we all know, so much has changed, especially in the last few years. That being said, I will propose the Tourism 2020 Strategic Plan be graded and updated, knowing what we know today, to extend the Bureau's vision and strategic planning to 2025 initially and then beyond. It is essential we have a strategic direction and plan to give the Bureau focus. Until such time, and knowing the 2019 overall economy is predicted to be stagnant with little to no growth, I believe the Bureau should continue to concentrate its efforts on our two source markets, Japan and Korea. There is much uncertainty beyond our shores, so we need to fish where we know where there's fish. In planning for 2021, I believe we should set real target arrival numbers for our established secondary markets. It is also very important to establish new, diverse country arrivals. There are so many sparks amongst the U.S. and our current list of country of arrivals, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Russia, and the Philippines. So it's in our best interest to diverse further. That's the input I would give if given the opportunity to work on an updated Tourism 2020 plan. Along these lines, I noted that last month, Guam was host to an international Rotary conference. A Russian basketball team came to Guam for practice and exhibitions. The 2019 Oceania Zonal Chess Championship tournament was held for the first time on Guam, with participants from Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and elsewhere. And Mobile as well hosted its regional managers meeting, bringing in corporate managers from throughout the region. These are not your typical tourist arrivals, and maybe not the result of any direct GVB promotion, but these are the types of diverse tourists we should work on increasing. And we can do this by simply pushing and promoting invitations to come to Guam. I'd like to see a campaign to get the message out to Guam residents, businesses, schools, sports and nonprofit organizations, government agencies and employees, and you too, senators, to invite. Invite family and friends and associates to visit Guam. Invite off-island colleagues and work-related contacts to hold a meeting, seminar, or conference on Guam. Invite off-island sports teams for competition or training here. Everyone, and I mean everyone, can participate and will make a difference. Let's get people excited to be invited. A byproduct, if you will, of pushing an Invite Guam campaign could be a boost to island pride. As Jane Flores wrote in the February issue of Island Times, we need to get some real island pride going. Pride that makes it unacceptable to throw trash in the boonies or leave it at the beach, or on the roadside after you have a party. She goes on to say, pride and partnerships with businesses and with the U.S. military bases here so that we can make recycling large-scale and more economical. Increased island pride can lead to a change of attitude and behavior, contributing to the Guam Visitors Bureau mission and sustainability. Another area to look into is our messaging locally and abroad. I'm proud to promote Chamorro and Guam's unique history, and we've done a great job at it. But I believe it behooves the GVB to promote the larger Guam, Guamanians, and be more inclusive of the other resident ethnicities who make up Guam today. I believe it's also worth a look into the membership voting system of the GVB. Maybe it's fine, but it's a system that allows the unlimited purchasing and control of votes. I know this does not bode well with the smaller business interests in the industry and may be counter-inclusive. As far as the operations of the GVB, I have full confidence in Pilar Laguatnia as President and CEO, and will give her my support as a board member if confirmed. I will encourage her with support of the board to review contracts and the performance of contracts. I will also support her desire to provide training for the Guam Visitors Bureau management and staff. Finally, when I left the Guam Visitors Bureau, arrivals hit 1 million in 1994. It has taken 25 years to grow our annual arrivals by 500,000 to 1.5 million, reached just last year. If confirmed, I'd like to be involved in bringing in a sustainable and a truly diversified 2 million tourist arrivals in much less time. Thank you for your time, and I ask for your support to the appointed position as Director for the Guam Visitors Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ada, and thank you, Ms. Dela Cruz. I know everyone has lots of questions and comments, and first I wanted to ask, do either of you have any continuing business interests or any potential conflicts of interest that may prevent you from serving on the board of directors?
No, I do not.
I don't think I have any direct conflict of interest. Our family business, we're landlords of several properties in Tumon. The insurance business, of course, insures companies that are involved in the tourism industry, but none direct.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll ask Senator Bisco-Lee first if she has any questions.
Sidus Masi, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Ada and Ms. Dela Cruz, for accepting the governor's nomination. I really want to thank you and your families also for their support of you in this, hopefully this role, if you're both confirmed. And I guess we'll start ladies first, if that's okay. So, Ms. Dela Cruz, you are being appointed to serve as a youth member, and you have a lot of marketing background that you bring to the table, as well as a tourism background. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about social media. GVB in recent years has really used social media to increase their reach, to kind of leverage that to market Guam to the world, and to create great content, and to also use crowd sharing. So we're inviting our tourists to use hashtags like Instagram and Only on Guam. So I kind of wanted to hear your input about how you think we're doing and what else we might be missing. If there are certain social media avenues that we're not expanding or not exploring, I'd love to hear from you on that.
Thank you very much, Senator Bisco-Lee. So I'd like to first start off by saying that in terms of our social media presence as a destination, I think we are improving compared to the previous years. We have, in our hashtag Instagram, we have over 80,000 content out there, just in Instagram by itself. And I believe that that is a huge amount, and that people are out there knowing that that hashtag exists, and at least that our island exists, compared to before when I go off island or anybody goes off island. They wonder, where is Guam? At least in our Instagram, we can pull up that tag and say, here is my island, this is where I'm from, and you can see how beautiful it is. And in the future, I would like to see that hashtag going even more viral out there. Right now, majority that I've seen, because I am active in Instagram, is mostly our local content creators. And even with our local content creators, it's still minimal. So I do believe that we need to support those creators out there, giving them more platform, giving them more resources to create their content, because they're doing it for free at the moment. And they can just do so much. And compared to other countries out there that have, they see social media as a new way to brand and a new way to promote. And it's effective, and it's its own niche market and its own economy. So hopefully in the future, as part of the board, I can contribute into how exactly we can use and how exactly we can optimize the use of social media.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ada, you mentioned the Tourism 2020 plan, and that's exactly what I was going to ask you about, just that 2020 is upon us. And I wanted to just know if you feel that these are still our priorities, what others should we include, but you kind of included that in your testimony already. In terms of the MICE market, and including meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. I know several of my colleagues were invited to a virtual conference by the President of the Republic of the Marshall Islands. It's a Pacific Women's Conference, and that's a virtual conference that's being held later this month. But we were discussing the potential of the legislature and the governor of Guam potentially inviting many of those leaders to come here maybe next year or something like that. So that's something that we're looking forward to working with GVB on in terms of inviting other folks to our island. But there was another question that I had asked in a previous, I think, informational hearing maybe last year about sports tourism. And we know that 2020, the Olympics in Tokyo is also upon us, and Guam has been used in the past to have several of the Olympic teams come and adjust to kind of the time and a little bit of the climate prior to their Summer Olympic competition. And so I wanted to know from you if you think it's too late for us to try to pursue some of those sports tourism related activities, or what you think your strategy would be in terms of the board kind of pursuing this.
To Pilar and the current board, because if that's an intention, it should have been planned already, I would imagine. That being said, I think there's still opportunities, and we should take advantage of the fact that the world's attention will be on Japan, and there could be ways that we can capitalize on this. I know we did it before in my time, and I forgot what the big event was in our area, but we invited teams to for the same reason, to practice here, to get acclimated to the time zone, to get acclimated to the temperature. I forgot what it was. Pilar, do you remember? There was a big event. It was either I'm pretty sure it was in Japan, but we did invite, or we opened up, or that Guam would be an excellent location for practicing prior to the event.
Well, I also think that you just bring a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge back to the board, so I'm looking forward to you contributing in that way. But I also, one of the major concerns that we always seem to kind of get up on in terms of our tourism market is destination management. So I really just want to ask the both of you please to continue to give support to that committee within the GBB board. I know that a lot of times the budget just never seems to trickle down into destination management, and we see, you know, a lot of those issues with trash being dumped, and I think it's a symptom of a larger problem. I agree that, you know, we have an issue with pride, taking pride in our community, and as stakeholders, the legislature will certainly continue to do as much as we can to assist you with that, but I really want to ask you to please be advocates for destination management and making sure that when we do market this incredible, beautiful island paradise to the world, and we have all of these great diversified markets coming here, they actually have something to enjoy when they get here. It's not, you know, a third-rate destination. It's a world-class destination that we know it to be. So thanks in advance for your service, and we're looking forward to the continued discussion. Sijos Masi.
Thank you. Senator Rangel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations to both of you, Ms. De La Cruz and Mr. Atta. And I'll ask the same question of both of you. We can start with Ms. De La Cruz. What do you think needs to be done? Right now, as I understand it, the markets are changing dramatically. There's a shift. We're getting less from Japan, more from South Korea. In addition, we're getting more free and independent travelers as opposed to the traditional travelers. And we're also getting tourists who are spending less money. We're getting more. We have over 1 million tourists now, but they're actually spending less than they were before. What do you think needs to be done to get tourists who spend more?
Thank you very much, Senator Ritchell. Well, as we all know, we met the amount of visitor arrivals that we need and to meet the 2 million, but it doesn't really count in our numbers in terms of our spending and everything like that. But what I do see as an opportunity is that we already captured that market, and it's just a way for us to kind of push them into spending more and extending their stay and really enjoying our island. And it's not a matter of, okay, let's get rid of that market that's not working out. It's a matter of let's try and encourage them to promote us and advertise for us. We've already have them. Might as well optimize and utilize what we have. So in terms of other opportunities out there, I do see that we can also try and open up other markets where, for example, the Filipino market, right now, majority of that comes into our island are only visiting friends and family, but there are also opportunities where we can tap into the elites traveling to Guam. They can go here, spend some time, and do some leisure activities. So, just utilizing and maximizing that opportunity of our existing market, rather than looking for other markets that we can try and capture. Because opening up a new market we have to invest more into that. Why not? Might as well use what we already have.
Mr. Atta, same question.
That's why I'm a big proponent of updating this Tourism 2020 plan to give a direction to sort through the data, because, again, as I mentioned, so much has changed and so much beyond our control. Russia died. The Russian market is almost dead because of sanctions of the U.S. with Russia. We've had drop in airlines, seat capacity from Japan. We have China. We had a part of this plan was a big look at the China market. There's no airline capacity coming from China anymore. So much has changed. And so I can talk about ideas, I believe, and it's going to be repeated in here. It's been said in here. It just needs to be updated. One thing I will say, and I don't know if really they're spending less, but I have to say I appreciate the new market and can see down the road furthering new markets, because it has opened up great opportunities for entrepreneurs. Whether it's tourists that are going to Pika's Cafe, or there are tourists that are renting the cars now. There's more. Or Payless shoppers at Oka. Oka Payless is full of tourists. So money's being spent, and I think it's important to see that it's being spent elsewhere and beyond 2 months. So I think that's a good thing.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Torres.
And I'm excited to see that you're going to be serving on the board. I think that your commitment to tourism is admirable. And as you're aware, successful destinations have a sense of place. And Guam was successful in rebranding itself and in promoting that branding image. And do you see a very active role as the member youth, the member representing youth? Do you see an active role in that aspect of marketing in terms of enticing the community to be part of the brand of Guam?
Thank you, Senator Torres. I do see that people nowadays, they're very much active into supporting our industry and any other industry that we have on island. There's more pride, there's more joy that people are more than likely to support whatever is out there. We do have that Inafamaulic spirit and that half-a-day spirit that we have. So, and what are we as a destination if without our people? So, and these days, if you look around just in the malls or in Tumon, you'll see that there's more local people just walking around and helping tourists too. And it's not how it was before where Tumon is just for tourists. It's more of a mix and it's more diverse, that it also adds value to our visitors that, oh, the people on island are so nice, I'll come back just for that. And it brings in more value for us as a destination, I see.
Good. I look forward to seeing your face more on the commercials then, going forward. Not that I don't appreciate Josh, but... And Sunny, I want to thank you for providing us a copy of the Vision 2020. I think that Tourism 2020, I think that was a nice refresher. And it also is a good indication of your very good business sense in relying on a sound plan going forward, and also your desire to update that plan. As we know, that the tourism industry can be very fickle, sometimes subject to forces outside of our control. So while we have the tendency to be flexible, we must never lose sight of the big picture, which I think you have a very good grasp of. But in looking at I keep seeing Vision 2020, I'm sorry, Tourism 2020, a lot of the objectives that we want to accomplish rely a great deal, I believe, on self-policing within the industry. And many of the things that we are now suffering from, for example, the non-licensure of certain tourist activity, the non-regulation of taxes of tourism-related activity, are going largely unchecked and unregulated. And I believe that a lot of the onus ought to be on the industry to self-police and ensure that we are not compromising ourselves as industry partners and business leaders. But do you have any thoughts on how, in carrying out your mission for the Visitors Bureau, how you can foster that sense of responsibility and self-policing within the industry? Do you have any thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that are, I mean, we just have to call a spade in terms of, there's a lot of industry complaint about the public sector side, the parks, the beaches, and facilities, government facilities. But I believe that just as responsible are the hotel owners, the tour operators, the bus companies, and the restaurants who have let their properties go down, who don't put into training their staff, who don't upgrade their facility and basically write off of the numbers of arrivals. So I think there's you know, I'm a private property owner, so I don't like when the government should be telling us what to do with our properties. But from an industry standpoint, in the position of GVB, I think we can certainly call, as I mentioned, call property owners and operators on it and call them for, you know, hey, you're part of the problem too. And so where that goes, I don't know. But certainly the private sector, the tourist industry sector, has a responsibility to Guam as well. And there are those who participate. Not everyone's going to be a do-set, but there are properties that are really, really just eyesores or provide a very unpleasant experience that's reflective of Guam as a whole. So.
I'm glad to hear that, because there are in many communities blighted property laws that regulate those sorts of things, that force people, short of homeowners associations or business improvement development covenants, that mandate that there's a level of civility and safety within properties, especially properties that are adjacent to highly trafficked properties. So perhaps that's something that we can also collectively look at, you know, in terms of how do we put regulations that will pressure people into taking it up a notch so that Guam can truly be the destination that we market it to be: wholesome, clean, natural, and safe. So you have very good sense, and I, without a doubt, will support you 100%. And I just want to thank you for also coming back, because you are indeed valuable to the Guam Visitors Bureau, and I think we can do great things together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Torres. Senator San Augustine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For Ms. De La Cruz and Mr. Ada, for Ms. Cruz, I look forward to your serious participation in GVB. You need to pick up the speed at GVB. Change the, what's that, Dan? The old look to the new look, right? You know? Get all the young folks more involved. I look forward to that. And for Sonny, you've got a record of success. I'm going to be looking for a lot of your advice on what you recommend on what role we need to take in supporting GVB. I'm actually going to be hoping that GVB will be reaching out to the community to take part in promoting Guam, because you can't all do this yourself. When the hotel industries, when the arrivals were going down, it was the community of Guam that went to the hotels and kept those restaurants open. I know that for a fact, because I went down there. I'm just a little bit older than you, Sonny, but I went down there and we would see that majority of the folks in the restaurants were local. Most of the folks that were checking in the rooms were local because the rates were low. And I honestly believe that if the community gets involved, then when the tourism goes to any park and the community is involved, if there's no money, we have to admit this. I mean, down in Umatic, for example, the Umatic people clean their own parks. They don't wait for parks. They don't wait for nobody. They clean it. It looks nice, but if we get everybody else involved in this, then it promotes Guam. GVB can spend money where it needs to spend. And you mentioned it, you know, it's like way back, Leo Palace, when it was built, it was like this is where you go to have all the games in Guam. We invite all the teams from all over the world, come to Guam. Or like the racetrack, like we're looking at the one up in Jigo. Bring all these folks because you know what? They have a group of folks that will follow them. And then when we turn to the markets, exactly what you're saying, they're spending money. Airbnb may be taking a bite of what we're not tracking on expenditure on Guam. No difference, the unlicensed tour guides that are out there. I only know this because I used to work at Revenue and Tax, and I used to find them. We need to get Revenue and Tax to get more involved in helping GVB. Not GVB giving them money to employ people, but them doing their part. And GVB doing your part, and everybody gets involved, because I look forward to helping or doing what we need to do. And if you have recommendations, the board has recommendations, introduce bills, I know most of my colleagues here are going to want to support it, because when you bring in money or bring in tourism and they bring in money, they can get appropriation bills coming out of their own office, and we can move forward to take care of Guam. And thank you both for accepting the nomination. I look forward to your active involvement.
Thank you, Senator San Agustin. Senator Titagui.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize. I had to step out for a minute. Ms. De La Cruz, as a board member, there are different, I guess, committees. China market, Korean market, you also have destination management, you also have culture. What area are you looking at that you would like to be a part of that committee?
Thank you, Senator Titagui. Right now, I'm looking into more of the Destination Development Committee. As a marketer, I believe that we can use a lot of advertising and promotions for our destination, but I also believe that for us to actually advertise and promote our island, we have to make sure that our island is reflective of what we're promoting. So in a way, we have to develop the product first before we promote it, and to make sure that if visitors come here, they don't say that, oh, that promotion is a lie. So that's what I'm looking forward into working on.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that. I mean, that's an area that I actually oversaw when I was at the Guam Visitors Bureau as well. Make sure you get with Pilar to also get involved with sustainability as well. There's a huge amount of information on not only creating a great destination, but sustainable as far as, you know, going green and et cetera down the line. So I appreciate that, and thank you for stepping up. Oh, there's your smile. That's so important. I've been waiting for you to smile all night, all afternoon. So keep that smile. You have a beautiful smile, and that's the best type of marketing you can have right there, is that smile. So thank you for stepping up to the plate. Sunny. Known you for so long. And I have to say, when I became the Deputy General Manager at the Guam Visitors Bureau, I called you way back when and asked you for advice, because I knew you had a wealth of knowledge. And when I heard that they asked you to come back and you accepted, I was so pleased to hear that. One of the things that you did bring up was to ensure that any amount of tourists that come to the island, that we're able to support that infrastructure-wise and every kind of aspect to be able to host these tourists and make sure that they are tourists that respect our island as well. Not just any tourists, but ones who expect our island. So there was one thing I wanted to ask you about, what would be the one thing you would do differently at the Guam Visitors Bureau to make a big change, a difference?
Again, I don't know if anything, I'd like to give a direction, and that's the updating of this 2020 plan. I just really have, I've reviewed the document several, 2 or 3 times, and it really gives focus. And I want to say one thing, I take the opportunity to say one thing. The Bureau can be everything. It can be a conduit, and it can be supportive, but it can't be everything. It can't manage the illegal Airbnbs. It cannot manage the parks and the clinic, or maybe it can. I don't know yet. I don't know what the mandate is within, but it can't be everything. So I want to say that, and that's why I believe if we have buy-in from the industry and the community on an updated vision, then not only the Bureau and the industry, but the supporting government entities can wrap their arms around it and see where we're going. I also think it's a great tool when going abroad and talking to investors or even new airlines, because then they're saying, hey, these people know where they're going, or where they have a vision. And so it's a buy-in. So I think, again, if there's anything I can do, not new, but updating this document, I think is a good start.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And again, welcome back. I look forward to working with you. And I appreciate that one section you had about a bill that I introduced for GVB with regards to voting. So I appreciate you put a comment in your testimony for the record. So once again, to the both of you, I wish you the best of luck, and make Guam great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Titlegy. Senator Munya?
Thank you very much. I'll start with Florian. One of the things that I took away from your short, simple, but very direct testimony is that you do have a lot of passion, even just going through your packet and seeing everything that you've been involved in to achieve success in school for tourism and hospitality. And your passion is very important. It's a very important characteristic for our hospitality and tourism. And I think many in your generation are working in the customer service in the tourism industry, and maybe your role as a youth board of director is to start passing on that passion to your generation, and just allowing them to understand how important it is, your role is as a generation in our hotel and tourism industry. Because a lot of the times our tourists, your generation is the first people they see, whether they go to a restaurant or if they go to a bar or they go to maybe a hotel and check in. So it's very important, and maybe something you might want to consider is like developing a generation support group if there isn't one yet, like a team in your generation to kind of work towards developing the passion for hotel and tourism industry. Be more active in incorporating the youth to promote how your generation is vital in promoting and protecting our island. And not that, and Senator Torres said the same thing I was going to say, not that I don't like seeing Josh on our commercials all the time, but it sure would be nice, I think the GVB's Hafa-Day Pledge where the kids are so cute. I absolutely love that commercial. I can't wait till it comes on again. That maybe we can find a bridge between the Hafa-Day Pledge with the kids and Josh, and then kind of bridge it with your generation as well. I mean, I'm not saying that Josh is old, but I mean, at least bridge that generation and incorporate a little bit more of yours. I think that's one of the ways that we can develop that passion for your generation into the industry. So I don't really have any questions, but I look forward to seeing more of you involved in the activity within GVB. And Sonny, first of all, I just want to say that from our minority leader, Senator Will Castro, he expresses his regrets for not being here, but he did want me to let you know that you have his full support for your confirmation to the board. And me, this morning, I had my own specific reasons for hanging out in the backyard of GVB today. I spent an hour in the water only because I wanted to understand the beauty of what the tourists see when they go snorkeling and take a look at our coral. And now it just gave me something to talk about here today with you that I'm not sure if you can answer it, but I'm not sure how strong the campaign is in protecting our coral reef. And if there isn't one yet, a very active, strong campaign in protecting that I would hope maybe the board of directors would really push something like that, because I was able to see our live coral, a whole new world underneath there. And then the ones that were damaged, whether it be by humans or, litter. I mean, just so many things that we need to protect. And it really is a whole new world. And if I can invite my colleagues to maybe spend an hour with BSP's Coastal Management, they can show you exactly what lies beneath there and how we can protect not just the tourists going into the water, but also how the hotels manage so that we protect what's within our water. And if maybe that's something that we can incorporate a little bit more stronger campaign in protecting our coral reefs and our fish. I had a beautiful opportunity today to swim with the fish, and it was just amazing. And there was a part of me that was so territorial that I didn't want to share it, but there was also a part of me that wished that there were more people to see that part of our island. So maybe that's something that we can push. Thank you, Sonny. Welcome. And it took me a long time before I found out what your real name was, Pedro, because I met you as Sonny, but you do have my full support.
Thank you. And I have to say, on those remarks, I have to say one of the best things they ever did was designating Tuman Bay as a preserve.
Yes, yes.
And that's really what brought back the fish and the coral that we see today.
Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Muñoz. Senator Moylan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Atta, Ms. Dela Cruz, you folks really complement each other. It's pretty good. You have your strengths and also strengths, and possibly one day you can help Sonny and I do Twitter together. I don't know how to do that. Maybe we can.
I don't even have a Facebook account.
Okay. Great. The 2020 updating the plan, I'm hoping it could be there or in your mind as well, but something of a seal of approval. GVB sees all these hotels, right? And we have some standards that we want to maintain. And if GVB says, here are number 1 through 5, and you put that on your phone, right? Somehow you can access that information on your phone. So when folks land on Guam, something like in Hong Kong, they land on Guam and boom, hey, this restaurant, great. And just within the H zone, this place is great. Or this place is, it's okay. But that would kind of give the incentive for us to maintain what you're saying without really regulating, but just saying, hey, you're doing great, or hey, you can do better if you want a top 5 or a top 10, things like that. So just, I hope you can consider that as well.
That's a good idea. Set a standard and by which the GVB can place its, like you say, seal of approval.
Yeah, so if you got that stamp, you're good. If you don't, you got to work to gain that stamp. I'm also looking at, there's a bill on a public-private partnership with the public parks. Something similar to what we saw at Two Lovers Point, on how beautiful that worked out too. So just on these main parks where the tourists really focus on, so they can get in there, and if they want to use the bathroom, they can use the bathroom. So we'll be talking more about that. But I'd like to work closely with GVB, and I did have the opportunity to meet with some of the folks from GVB, and they even offered us to take a little bus ride and just look at it for ourselves. But we all see the problems with that. But I like to work to incentivize that with you folks too. Another one I've also introduced was updating the Guam product seal. So when you actually turn over something and you want to believe it's made in Guam, and there's some flaws in that existing law, but I think we can correct that too, working together. And I'll skip to the last one, but also there's probably some recommendations in the transition report that maybe we can look at incorporating in that 2020 plan too. There was a lot of hard work put into that, so I'm hoping you can consider that too. But otherwise, congratulations. I'm ready to get to work, and I'm sure you are too, and I'm looking forward to working with both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On your note about the partnerships, if you will, or if you privatizing parks, I've brought that up even back 25 years ago. There should be a user fee. You know, any park you go in the States or in Asia when you travel, I mean, and tourists pay a user fee for parks. So I think as a funding source for beautifying and maintaining, if there's a way that we can capture the users to pay, I think that's, I'm all for that. Yeah, exactly. Two Lovers Point is a great example. Clean restrooms, clean facility, good experience. We can bring that out. The parks, the public parks should be, the tourists should have that same feel and that same appreciation. And we should be able to provide that, or maybe whether it's a public-private partnership or just a ground lease, but let someone maintain it if that's what it is. But it's a great option to look at.
Thank you, Senator Moylan. Some questions for you both. Currently, GVB allocates $14.5 million to marketing efforts, primarily in Japan and Korean markets, $950,000 on visitor safety, such as contracting visitor safety officers in the Tumon area, and a little over $1 million on destination development, such as street cleaning and maintenance. What are your thoughts on the breakdown of this allocation? Do you agree with it?
Well, for me, I think again, I believe the priority is marketing. So the funding should go towards that. As far as, but I can also see us having to participate and again, through an update, see what is needed and where the responsibility should be for the maintenance of parks and public historic sites, if you will. Safety, certainly, if there needs to be beef up in funding for that. We shouldn't skip on funding for tourist safety. Again, I need to get in there a little bit more to understand a little bit better of what's being done. You know, let's see what we are spending on and what are the results of what we're spending on. If it needs to be changed, that discussion needs to be had. But right now, I think the primary focus of the GVB is marketing, and I can certainly see us beefing up a little bit, maybe on public safety for certain, and as far as parks maintenance and the like, that's to be discussed, I think.
Thank you, Florian.
Yeah, I do agree with Mr. Ada's point, but I also want to say that marketing is not just about promotions and advertising, it's also developing our product. And right now our product is our island, it's our culture, our people, and our natural resources. So I do believe that we have to kind of look over our allocation budget breakdown and improve where it gives more emphasis on destination development and also on visitor safety, so that it adds value to our visitors and also add values to us that we are a must-visit attraction here in the tourism market. So I do agree that we have to focus on marketing, but at the same time, marketing is not just promotions, advertising. It's also about developing our product, making sure that the product is what we are promoting. And at the same time, we want to make sure that whatever we're promoting is, again, reflective of what we truly have on island.
I think a lot of developing our product will be benefited through partnership with our small businesses on island. So I wanted to ask, how will you ensure that small business are able to enter the tourism market or have better access to the tourism market?
As part of the board, I will ensure that small businesses have access to our tourism market through first devising a plan or devising an incentive program that would encourage small and established businesses to partner up and collaborate with each other, and also provide these small businesses with a strong promotional platform, which is GVB. At this very moment, our small businesses on island, they are not given the fair share of our tourism market, mainly because they can't reach out to them. So what I see in the future is that we have this incentive program where established businesses would work with small businesses and vice versa, where established businesses would be encouraged to work with them so that these small businesses can grow and flourish. And also through this incentive program, they will be more active and will be more than willing to support the small businesses. And second is with the promotional platform that GVB would provide for small businesses. It's at this moment, it's kind of where to a point that GVB only promotes established businesses. So it's not on an even playing field where GVB promotes both small and established businesses. So what I hope to see in the future is that they, with a emphasis on, they don't just emphasize on promoting these big businesses. They also give encouragement and also support to the small businesses through promoting them. Because right now, we do have a lot of small businesses. It's just that our tourism market are not aware that they exist. They only see what we currently have.
Thank you. Mr. Atta?
I think in addition to that, I simply grow the market. I grow a larger and diversified market. We've seen that with the Russian and Korean markets that are fairly new, if you will, or the growth has been new. New businesses flourished. And so, again, if we have open ourselves up to additional markets and increase our numbers, I think it increases the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. And, funding for GVB travel and for delegations sent to represent Guam sometimes can be a little controversial, be heavily scrutinized. I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts about it?
I actually went to one of the conferences where GVB was one of the exhibitors, and compared to the rest of the countries out there, we were very minimal. Other countries have very expressive, very decorative booths that anybody who's walking by would definitely have a strong impression of that country, and that they would most likely kind of steer themselves to that destination. And so I believe that we must have the proper representation, especially when we go out there to other countries, and in a way that helps us deliver the proper message to both our existing and potential tourism market. So I strongly support the Bureau funding to these types of travel and sending delegations. In addition to that, I believe that through sending out representatives to these countries, we are also able to gain knowledge about what is going on in the tourism market in a more global scale. In my experience at that conference, I was honored to be surrounded by peers from different countries like Nepal, Canada, Hong Kong, and Singapore, and even Macau, that we were talking about and sharing our experience how our homes are tackling the tourism industry. And through that experience, we are brainstorming and collaborating on what can be improved on. We're getting ideas from each other where, we can implement that too in our home, and hopefully that would work. So at the same token, that type of brainstorming and collaborative work, the Bureau does that, but in a bigger scale, of course. So I strongly support those types of travels, and I hope there's actually more so that we have more knowledge here in our island.
Simply said, travel is necessary. We have to go out there to lure the tourists in, if you will. But it has to be justified and transparent. So, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. And one last question. I know that Guam's been looking to develop a cruise line, a cruise ship industry. Would you support aggressively pursuing this type of industry during your time on the board?
Right now, I don't see myself actively and aggressively supporting that type of industry, only because of our natural conditions at the moment. If we do have that type of industry on our island, I feel that we may face sacrifices on our natural resources, and at the moment, that is our strongest asset. Our white sands and our blue waters are, if not one of the top reasons why visitors come to our island. So if we bring in that industry, we may hurt our natural resource and our strongest asset. So right now, I don't see myself really supporting that industry.
I'll take a different look on that. I mean, there's only two ways tourists can come to Guam. That's the airport and the seaport. So if we want to increase tourist arrivals, the seaport is one option. And I think it's worth the look. It's been talked about for quite a while. There are different kind of tourists, if you will. But I think it opens up, again, opportunities. But it has to be, again, justified and transparent. Let's do our homework on our side and let the business decision be made by those in the shipping business, in the luxury liner business. But I think Micronesia has a lot to offer, and from what I understand, the little that I understand, I think there's routes that are capable of providing a passenger different island experiences. So I think it's an option that certainly should be seriously looked at.
Thank you. Thank you very much to both of you for being here today to testify, to your friends, your colleagues, your family for being here in support of your appointment to the board, Siduos Masi and Siduos Masi for accepting the appointment. And there being no additional individuals present to testify, this committee will continue to remain open until March 14th for the acceptance of any additional public testimony on the agenda items discussed today. You may submit testimonies to the office of Senator Therese Terlahi at the Ada Plaza Center, Suite 207-173 Aspinall Avenue, Hagåtña, Guam 96910, or to the mailroom of the Guam Legislature in the Guam Congress Building, or through her email at senatorterlahi@gmail.com. Siduos Masi again for all those in attendance and those viewing at home. This public hearing is now adjourned at 3:55 p.m.